Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, dwyervip.com. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Now let's talk about Adrien Broner's victory over Ashley Theophane. The gamblers were taken care of because the hedge, Broner by KO, held. Even though, in my opinion, the fight was stopped prematurely, the hedge shouldn't have held, and I should have lost on this one, quite frankly. But the referee jumped in the ninth round in a fight in which there were no knockdowns, in a fight in which, moments before the stoppage, Theophane gets hit with a low blow. Right? The ref jumps in, stops the fight. Okay, fine. The hedge held. I'm grateful. But let me be blunt. Forget the hedge. I was wrong on this fight. I was hoping to be able to come on here and to tell you that I picked a double-digit underdog. Right? At the time I made that pre-fight video, Theophane was something like a 14-1 underdog. Right? I know Scott Hansen, who did a great job. Right? Let's give him credit. Antonio Tarver, who did a great job, actually talk about the odds. In the early rounds of the fight, they're mentioning 20-1 and 30-1. When I did my pre-fight video, it was about 14-1 at that point. Right? And I just thought that Theophane was going to move too much for Broner. Have too much lateral movement for Broner. I view Broner as a bit flat-footed. Right? I view Broner as having a problem hitting moving targets. I get the feeling that Broner has a problem with spacing in fights. That a skilled fighter could figure out that Broner's offensive arsenal isn't really that varied. Understand, let's talk about two fighters. Right? Vladimir Klitschko, Floyd Mayweather. Both guys have excellent lead left hooks. But understand, both guys, Klitschko more than Mayweather, set up that left hook with a left jab. In other words, I'm fighting Vladimir Klitschko, I'm getting pummeled with a jab. Right? After a while, I start to think, okay, he's just going to hit me with a jab. Then Klitschko changes his leverage a little bit and hits me with a left hook. Right? I've been suckered into thinking about a jab when there's more power coming back. Floyd, same thing. Floyd can move and hit you with a jab. But then Floyd will sit down on the punch and will hit you with a brutal left hook. Now let me say this too. The way Klitschko and Floyd, and I'm naming two well-known fighters, throw that left hook, it's pretty compact. Right? You have a hard time timing it so you could actually jump in and counter it. Right? It's quick. It's lightning quick. You want to see a fight where a fighter has a big-time problem with Floyd Mayweather's left hook. And I'm talking about, in my opinion, a higher-level fighter than Adrien Broner. Right? Just take a look at Juan Manuel Marquez's fight against, and keep in mind, Marquez now is an older fighter, right? Just look at Marquez's fight against Floyd Mayweather, right? That left hook is so sudden. It's so devastating. Even a skilled opponent doesn't know when it's coming. Now with Adrien Broner, that left hook is not framed that way. He's not hitting you with a great jab. There's no Klitschko jab to confuse you. Rather, this is a flat-footed guy who's trying to get close enough to you, right? Not by gliding around the ring, but by literally trying to walk around the ring, trying to run after you. He's trying to get close enough to you so he can throw that left hook. Now, I'm just telling folks that world-class fighters would be able to take Broner's desire to throw that winging left hook, that wide left hook, away from him. Right? If Bernard Hopkins were in his prime and were Broner's weight, understand a lot of the fight would take place before a punch is thrown, because Hopkins would know this guy's only throwing a few punches, right? Hooks, predominantly. You've heard me talk about mid-range hookers here before online. He's throwing hooks. He's not setting it up with a Vladimir Klitschko, Larry Holmes jab, right? That's not part of the repertoire. He's throwing hooks, and he needs to come mid-range to land a hook on me. So a guy like Bernard Hopkins would keep Adrien Broner guessing on where he's going to be in the ring. Right? Broner wouldn't have the opportunity to get mid-range and then dig deep to throw that hook. That hook that's not compact. Right? That's not a quick, short hook like, let's say, a Floyd Mayweather hook. Right? Now, forget what I have to say here. I want you to listen to a master. Right? Talk about the same thing. In my favorites folder here online is a video of Floyd Mayweather's comments critiquing Adrien Broner's performance in the fight. It's a real short video. Mayweather simply says, Broner's too flat-footed. Now keep in mind, Mayweather has fought fights on the balls of his feet. Sure, people are going to now send me videos of Mayweather being flat-footed in bouts. The point is that Mayweather has a choice. Broner doesn't. For Broner to be effective, he has to be flat-footed. Mayweather talks about Broner being flat-footed. Right? Understand, too, flat-footed fighters can't fight as fast as guys on the balls of their feet. Look at the first round of this fight. Ashley Theophane, who doesn't have a big punch, actually has Adrien Broner on his heels, backed up. Right? That's a portion of the first round, folks. Right? Broner's not a guy who can move with you. It's troubling because Broner's only 26 years old. Right? Broner, in his prime, doesn't have the game that allows him to move with you. Right? Floyd Mayweather also talks about how Broner's too reliant on hooks. Now I know it just sounds like talk. Understand, Mayweather, great defensive fighter. This is how great defensive fighters think. They see that you can only do damage on hooks. They make sure position-wise in the ring that they aren't standing in front of you at an angle where you could get off the hook. Right? A Mayweather, in my opinion, would be able to certainly beat Broner outside, right? Because Broner doesn't really have ring coverage, right? Flat-footed guys really can't leap across the ring at you. Right? Broner doesn't have big-time ring coverage. You really have to be in front of him for him to hurt you, don't you? So, Mayweather would certainly be able to beat Broner outside. My point to you is because Broner's left, which to me is his money punch, is a little wide, Mayweather would be able to step inside of it and would be able to beat Broner inside. Now look, I don't mean to pick on Adrien Broner. Right? Broner is a talent. He's a 4-time champion. Right? But when we're critiquing guys, it's just like the Olympics. Right? You can say, hey, this guy, he's world class. He's a medalist. But he's the bronze medalist. Right? If we're going to talk about him, we have to talk about the gap between a bronze medalist and a gold medalist. I'm guessing somewhere Terrence Crawford looked at that fight and thought, my goodness, here's how I'd be able to fight Adrien Broner. Understand, Crawford, ambidextrous, right? If a Terrence Crawford concludes that Broner's primary punch is that springing left hook, Crawford could set it up where he's fighting in a fight style that makes it hard for Broner to hit him with that left hook. Then Crawford would be able to move around the ring, force Broner to walk into counters. I would say both of Crawford's jabs, left jab and right jab, are better than Broner's jab. Right? Understand, Broner thought he was going to blow out Ashley Theophane in 3 rounds. Folks, the fight got into the 9th round and was stopped without Theophane hitting the canvas. Let me say this too, and it really needs to be said, because I understand, in boxing, reporters want access. Broner's one of the biggest draws in the sport, right? He's certainly a popular fighter. He's a known fighter. You know who he is. We all understand he has big-time skills. But let me just say, in the sport of boxing, the top is to be a champion, right? Guys fight to get the belt. Now, I have literally seen grown men cry. I'm not kidding. Cry in the ring when they get the belt. I've seen grown men have family members in the ring, members of the guy's family, literally climbing into the ring after the guy has won a title. You want to see one such situation? Go back and look at the Mayweather-Genaro Hernandez film. Mayweather wins the title. Folks, he's crying in the ring. The title means that much, right? To win a title, unless you're Canelo or someone like that, you normally have to beat a champion. Right? Yes, that's a cheap shot. Yes, I'm making it. Yes, you're watching my video. Yes, that's my view. Well, let's just say this. You normally have to beat a champion to win a title, right? So, just think about the work. Just to get the title fight, you have to become a contender. You have to be eligible for a title fight, right? I've seen guys win titles and thank so many people, right? Their mother, their father, their manager, their trainer, their cut man, their sparring partners, their promoters, that the interviewer, after listening to this guy give really an Academy Award speech, has to say, hey, about the fight you had tonight, let's talk about that. Right? Winning a title is the biggest moment of many people's lives. Now look, I don't have a problem with a guy losing a title. Well, I do have a problem, but I don't blame the fighter if he loses the title because of a bad set of judges. Okay, that's out of the fighter's hands. Lord knows, in boxing especially, we've seen that several times, right? I don't mind a fighter losing a title because of a bad referee. I don't blame the fighter for refs who don't have a clue, right? Okay, it happens. I've even seen the fluke disqualification. Think Roy Jones, Montel Griffin, where the fighter is caught up in the moment, does something in a split second, gets disqualified, right? Sakio Bika gets disqualified, loses a title fight, while trying to win the fight. Okay, stuff happens, right? Even the fluke injury. Fighter falls down, his knee's blown out. Adrien Broner against Vitaly Klitschko at the end of a good first round. Right? Closest Broner ever came to the heavyweight title. Okay. You know, life has rough edges. But I got to tell you, I just don't understand. In a sport where the title means so much, a guy losing a title because he can't make weight when he's the champion. He can't lose less than half a pound, 0.4 of a pound, in 2 hours. Didn't Adrien Broner know the weight class he was fighting in? After all, he was the champion. Doesn't that detract from the event? Right? Isn't that a ripoff to fans who are there expecting to see both guys able to leave the ring with the title? Isn't that a rip to Ashley Theophane, who actually had to lose the weight? Right? This isn't the first time Adrien Broner has had weight problems. Quite frankly, I have an axe to grind with every fighter like this. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., you hear me? Adrien Broner, Johan Guzman, who even I had to give up on. That dude couldn't make weight. So, to me, after having seen guys cry because they value the title that much, to see a guy throw away his title on the scales like this guy did, let's just say, to me, demeans the sport. Shows a lack of professionalism. Tells me that this guy's not serious enough about his craft for me to be serious enough about his career. Right? So, let me say this. Theophane made some mistakes. The fight was there for him. Right? He had a guy who had warrants out for his arrest. A guy who couldn't, put it this way, Broner shows up so dehydrated, that he couldn't even think about losing 0.4 pounds. Couldn't even think about losing it. Right? So Theophane, to me, had a chance to win the fight. The mistakes Theophane made, in my opinion, first, there's an absence of lateral movement. Right? Theophane's on his back foot. But Theophane isn't moving. Right? He's too much in front of Broner. He should have moved. Right? It's movement behind a jab. Not just a jab and you're standing in front of a guy who, quite frankly, needs to get mid-range to hurt you. Isn't going to jab his way in. Golovkin has a better jab than Adrien Broner. Right? So Theophane, to me, didn't move as well as I had hoped. Right? Also, you're fighting Broner. Why would your back ever touch the ropes if you don't have a big punch? Why would you give Broner an opportunity to pin you on the ropes so he could then start throwing winging body shots? Right? I thought Theophane should have circled Broner, but not allowed himself to be backed up against the ropes. Right? A lot of boxing is determined by where you are in the ring. Right? Theophane should have, done things to keep himself off the ropes. Keep in mind, when you try to bum rush, let's say, a Floyd Mayweather or an Adrien Broner, these guys don't have to run anywhere. They can plant roots in the middle of the ring when they need to and have you walk into a shoulder. Right? I didn't see Ashley Theophane do that. Understand, he could have varied a stick and move game with an up-close game. Kept Broner guessing. Instead, he doesn't move a lot. He sticks, but there isn't a lot of movement. Then he ends up over by the ropes. Let me say this too. You have Adrien Broner who gets you over by the ropes, but who can't throw very short punches, right? That left is about this long, isn't it? right? Looks like a slapping punch, quite frankly. It's so long. Why wouldn't you be able to grab him and pull him toward you? Isn't that when you clinch a guy? If you're going to be over by the ropes, if you're going to try to rope-a-dope at all, don't you need to be able to clinch the guy to break his rhythm? To not allow him to have you over by the ropes and then to, flat-footedly load up on these winging left hands. Right? Another problem I have with Theophane, too upright. If he's getting hit in the body, one way to stop a guy from hitting you in the body is by bending. So the guy has to get through your upper body to land the shots. Right? I thought Theophane got too caught up in the shootouts. I thought he was too upright. I didn't think he moved enough and kept the timing uncertain enough for Broner to deal with. Sergio Martinez, right, who I think historically is underrated, used to bounce from, his waist up. So you weren't quite sure when Martinez, who admittedly punches harder than Theophane, but you weren't quite sure when Martinez was going to spring punches on you. And you understood if you were going to hit Sergio in the ribs, you had to figure out the timing. Because the guy is moving, right? Is it a trap? Am I free to jump in? Especially when I'm throwing the kind of wide punches that Adrien Broner is throwing. So Theophane made mistakes. But even with the mistakes, he makes it into the 9th round of the fight. Let's talk about the stoppage. Even though Broner gives up his title on the scales, it's still a title fight for Ashley Theophane. So here's Ashley Theophane, right? Broner hit so hard that Ashley Theophane is still standing in the 9th round. You're the referee of the fight. Make no mistake, Theophane does get dazed. He's not 100% in the 9th round. There's no question about that. He's moving away from Broner. Doesn't look like he has his full balance. I thought in boxing that even if he got knocked down, he would have 10 seconds to get back up. Do those rules still apply to this sport? Folks, this isn't the first round. This isn't the second round. You're not looking at a situation where a guy's dazed and confused and it's the second round and you're saying, oh man, I need to save dude's life because what's going to happen in the 3rd round and the 4th round? No, this is the 9th round. This is Theophane's opportunity to win a title. He hasn't been down the entire fight. Somebody explain to me what the ref's doing. Let me say this too. I've read here online people claiming that Ashley Theophane, waved at the ref, wanted to quit and stuff. That's malarkey. Look at Ashley Theophane's face when the ref grabs him. Theophane's disappointed. He knows he's been buzzed. He knows he's dazed. Who was this ref? Was this the ref in the George Groves, Carl Froch first fight? Folks, this is boxing. It's a title fight. The man hadn't been knocked down. If Broner is such a hard puncher, why is this man still standing in the 9th round? I thought Broner told us the fight wasn't going 3 rounds. Right? So, I'll say this. Broner did better than I thought he would. I personally thought Theophane was going to win the fight. Yes, a double-digit underdog. I thought he was going to win the fight. Right? Okay. Broner got the knockout, the knockdown, whatever, the stoppage, thanks to the referee, right? I should be thanking the ref. He saved me some money. But realistically, I know Broner's out there calling out, Floyd Mayweather and stuff like that. The bottom line is Broner needs to check himself, right? He lost to Sean Porter. He lost to Marcus Maidana. right? Mayweather is in his late 30s now, right? Broner certainly doesn't have the outside game of Floyd Mayweather. Can we agree on that? Broner doesn't have the accuracy of Floyd Mayweather. Can we agree on that, or do we need to go to CompuBot's numbers? Broner's punches are wider than Floyd Mayweather's. If Mayweather figures out the angles on Broner's punches, folks, especially that left hook up top, right? Could you imagine Mayweather blocking that and coming in with counters? You know, Broner, and I'll give him credit, knows how to use length. There's no question about it. He has a great lean. He knows how to lean away from punches. The problem, though, is the lean works when you're an Ali and you have legs and you're on the balls of your feet. So someone comes up on you and Ali, let's say Ali Liston, right? Ali's up against the ropes, Liston leaps in, Ali's able to lean way over the top rope, right? He's leaning back quickly. He's able to move back because he's on the balls of his feet. Broner has a great lean, but understand his feet are tethered to the canvas. Right? They're tethered to the canvas. We've all seen fights where a guy who feints more than Ashley Theophane is able to time a counter to get inside on a guy who can only lean so far. Right? So, I'll say this. I hope Floyd stays retired. Right? I hope Carl Froch stays retired. I applaud Lennox Lewis for staying retired. I applaud Rocky Marciano for staying retired. Right? The sport needs more people to leave on top and let the rest of the world deal with their legacies. Right? The bottom line is, just like George Groves will never have the legacy of Carl Froch. Right? In other words, Carl Froch doesn't need further fights against George Groves to prove himself. Right? Floyd Mayweather doesn't need to fight Adrien Broner. Adrien Broner already has more losses than Mayweather had his entire professional career. Right? Mayweather's already beaten a guy who's beaten Adrien Broner, right? Didn't Mayweather beat Marcus Maidana twice? Right? It's interesting that Broner's not calling out Maidana, right? He's calling out Floyd Mayweather. Right? And so my point is, Mayweather has the legacy. Why would he want to risk that legacy against a fighter who, quite frankly, can never match his legacy? Right? So, you know, I appreciate the show business aspects of Adrien Broner. He's certainly a must-watch. He's a very talented guy. But here again, I view him as a bronze medal winner, not the gold medalist. Right? Rather than call out Floyd, call out Terence Crawford. Call out Kell Brook. I'm just telling people, Kell Brook would destroy Adrien Broner. Too much movement. Kell Brook would get inside Broner's punches and would deliver big-time damage. Right? There are guys out there in Broner's weight range. I can't say weight class because even this fight, Broner couldn't make weight. Right? And this was for Broner's title. There are guys out there in Broner's weight range who would give him inspired fights. Right? Let's see Broner try to climb the mountain. Assuming, of course, he doesn't get tossed in jail for a protracted period of time. Right? Because of the warrants out for his arrest. Anyway, that's how I see it. Let me hear from you. Leave your comments for me here online. Let me say this too clearly. I don't hate Adrien Broner in the slightest. Right? But if I'm going to bet on a fighter, I'd like to know that that fighter can actually make weight to defend his title. Is that too much to ask? Right? And if I see a fighter who's flat-footed, right, who has a problem with movement, I don't care who the fighter is. Here online, I owe it to myself. I owe it to you to point that out. Also, when I see a fighter who believes in his power so much, he's talking about a first to third round knockout. And we're in the 9th round, and he hasn't yet knocked down the other man. who's a double-digit underdog. And the ref jumps in and stops the fight. Yes, I'm going to call that a premature stoppage. Let me know your thoughts on the fight. I hope you leave them here in the comment section to this video. Thanks for stopping by.